towards the east of this circle. They had an opportunity to actually third-party a fight. I think it was Nonchim Ramforce versus Gamex. They decided not to do that and just prioritize their game style. It worked out wonders for them, 19 points. And if we keep going down the list, I mean, it's good to see some of these names here at the top, Kyle. You got Alpha 7 with 13 points and Team Falcon as well there with 12.
They did something. No, I mean, of course, it's very
They did, though. It's talking about teams that did something. Is that AXTMG? 5 points, they got points.
Yes!
Woo!
The first two games, they got nothing. So we were hoping for a little bit of a step up from them, of course, here. And this is definitely a bit of a step up here, Neptura.
It is. I actually really liked how they played the south side as well, right? They had a really nice split. They kept things going, but they didn't get too far out of bounds, right? They kept it together and held it, and they did a really good job here.
And even before they ended up going towards the south there of Rosshog on the mountain, between the school area, I really enjoy what the third party that they ended up doing between Regnum, Karya, and Kino. That was perfect, and it showed that this team is now starting to be proactive. They're not just waiting and being too patient, which is ultimately what you want to see out of a team that's now experiencing a global event once again.
All right, are we going to talk about Falcons again? Because,
yes.
There's some really cool things actually happening, Seven, of course. The rotations were amazing initially, I want to say. What do you think?
I mean, this right here, I felt like, and you kind of said it too, you said that this might have been the rotation of the tournament so far. I would definitely have to agree with that. I love that they did a 3-1 split too. They adjusted a little bit of what they were able to do in the last game, except this time they actually sent more players that could actually eliminate the rest of the squad. Great third party, but even before that, I enjoyed what they did towards the north of Rosshog, Neptura, because they were just controlling everything. They weren't letting anybody get close by.
And what I'm really enjoying from them as well is that they're learning from the group stage. They're not doing too much. They find a compound that they like. They make sure they hold that compound, and then there's no risk of them actually getting taken apart unless there's a full-on crash, right, against them. But so far, they're actually keeping to themselves, keeping together, and saving themselves for that late game.
Yeah, and if I had to nitpick there on this last match for Team Falcons, it would be the execution there towards the end. They did have a great rotation, but when it came down to it, they were just sending one player by one. They sent in Ko up first, hoping that he'll be able to do something, and then they just stopped in an area that you were just going to get grenaded. Max was calling it out too. I got a chance to see it. At that point, just go for a full crash.
Yeah.
I mean, you've left one north, right? I get why they might want to do something like this, not only hunting down those limbs, Neptura, but also negating the problem in Rosok finish that is the road, because that's such a huge problem for these teams.
Yeah, it is a huge problem, and I really actually like the 1-3 split, as we were saying, right? Because it would allow them to have this pincer move going on. But I think maybe the way the zone was working or something, those 3 players on the south rotated down towards A7. They should have maybe gone onto the other side so they could do a pincer move with Redux on the north. And it just didn't work out that way, so it was a 1v1, 1-by-1.
Well, let's head down to Barney now as he is ready with Falcons to see what they think after some of these games.
Welcome back to the main stage. I've got Koa from Team Falcons joining me here, and I tell you what, the consistency seems like it's back, Koa, because you've had 3 matches so far. All 3 have been in the top 5, 2 second places as well. What changed from the group stage to now on the survival stage? Because you guys, it feels like you're back.
Yeah, so we had the meetings, we talked about our mistakes, and we fixed them.
Simple. Okay, that's simple and effective. You know what, Koa? I want to talk about you individually as a player, because your impact since joining this team has been incredible. You've been MVP in the PMSL season, and now you've come here and you're clutching up in highly intense moments, I would say. How do you feel like you've gelled with the team, and why do you feel like it works so well?
I think it works because the team have some structure, and then my job is only to take the kills.
Your job is to go out there and farm the kills of what's happening now. So coming into the next 3 matches, are you guys just going to keep the strategies the same? Because it seems like it's working.
Yep, we're going to keep all the same.
Koa, I like interviewing you, man. You're simple, you're to the point. I love it. Back to you guys.
Well, Barney's right. A very important place for Falcons, of course, to do well here, live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for PUBG Mobile World Cup. We can take a look at a moment or two here from Falcons as well, because they've really been a focal point here so far, Seven. Kind of understandably in some moments.
I mean, let's even rewind it a little bit more. You got Alpha 7 being able to take control of this area, and I felt like for them, that was able to clutch about so many points. And then you got Yangon trying to send it, but Alpha 7 was ready. Just cars flying everywhere.
Yeah, and of course the teams have to try and come in behind that and try and deal with what on earth is going on all over there. But let's talk about some of these other teams, of course, here, Neptura, because Nongshim Red Force, of course, as well, in this game, they found themselves in a bit of the nitty-gritty and trying to get them... They've got themselves some points on for sure on the board, as we'll take a look at the overalls, but what do you think about Nongshim?
they're almost there. They're almost where I want them to be, because you saw them come in against who was it?
Gamex?
No, Gamex and R8. They came in, had a really nice third party, really
Very
nice
good.
push onto Gamex, really good. Then they kind of split apart when they were trying to fight against AX Team AG. So for me, they're almost there, but we look over the overall rankings, and actually it's very close still, even though we've had different teams doing different things at different times.
It is, and I mean, look at the 8th place Ringnam Karya. With this matches too, I mean, we're going to have some gaps here and there, but those teams can definitely close it up with just one match. I'm pretty sure we'll end up going there towards the second page. Something that I actually wanted to touch base with Nongshim is I enjoyed that 3-1 split that they were doing earlier on. They did have a player kind of just holding it down with an just making sure that they were scouting everything, which allowed that third party that you were talking about, Neb. I wish they would have actually went north. They wouldn't have needed to challenge Horaa Esports. I did not appreciate the south rotation when they ended up crashing on AXTMG. I felt like that was maybe a losing play. If they would have just gone north, played that edge on the river, that might have been a winning play for that team to clutch up even more points.
We had our concerns about R8, I think, as well, Noctura.
Yeah, we did. I really liked how they played the north side, full control of the north side. If the zone had gone their way, they probably would have won, but they didn't, and they actually, instead of playing that same position that you were just talking about, Seven, they went ahead and crashed the compound, which seemed like just to stop any momentum they had built over the course of the game.
It was a concern.
Was.
I mean, hitting that compound when it's not even going to be a focal point of the circle as well, Seven, seems a little bit dubious, a little bit odd, a little bit.
It just comes down to experience from some of these teams. I feel like that's what you narrow it down. The winning play for that team would have been going towards the Western Bridge and just holding that down there. But I think maybe the proactiveness of Team Falcons might have scared them off a little bit more. But for them, I mean, if that's what you're gonna go with, it didn't end up working out for them. Maybe they'll be able to fix it up going to the next games.
That said, always difficult in an urban ending like that, of course. The road obviously causes a big problem. You're seeing how reluctant teams are to try and move from building to building. And that was what was really impressive about Horaa. Their actual sweep from building to building in this game here, Neptura.
Yeah, it was. And again, you not only have the road in the middle, you actually have that road in between their compound and the rest of Rosov as well. So that's very open. I think Ringnam Karya had those buildings on the other side. So it was something where they had to cross over, and you can only do that by a full sweep the way Horaa did. If you stop at any point, it's game over.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Time to head over to the stage once again as the lovely Veracity and Mr. Barney Banks are ready to go as well.
Welcome back to the Gadia Esports Arena, where we are halfway through day one of the survival stage, and tensions are high, and of course, so is the passion. But I'm here to bring you all of the highlights that we've had so far in day one, and of course, day one, we kick things off on Sandhawk. Sandhawk was extremely strong map because two teams that came into a final showdown were Team Falcons and Fireflux Esports. Fireflux took that victory, and of course, some points along with it, 17 in total, but E-Arena managed to secure 9 eliminations. So an honourable mention goes to them. Are you still up
Survival. Barney, if these players can make it through survival stage, I can too. I've had the best view in the house right now, Barney, and let me tell you right now, match 2 was proof of the fact that the Falcons were able to spend their day off in the most fabulous fashion ever, Barney. Yeah, don't worry about that. I've been snacking away. The Falcons, they've been sharpening their talons, Barney, to say the very least. They soared their way to the very top of our standings. And not only that, they managed to walk away with eliminations left, right and centre. But unfortunately, Fireflux Esports began clipping away at their wings. Our final fight, though, it saw Power Esports taking down the lone survivor representing the Falcons, and that was Koa, marking the 3rd chicken dinner right here at this event for Power Esports.
Going into map number 3, Nongshim Red Force kicked things off extremely strong with 10 eliminations by stage 7 of that particular map. But in the end, it was Horaa Esports that managed to clinch that victory and claim that chicken dinner for their own as well. So that's nice. A good amount of points for Horaa Esports, Veracity.
You know what, Barney? Enough chit-chat from us. I want to go ahead and dive into match number 4, baby. Let's do this.
Great to see Veracity finally getting down from the high ground. She was up there for a while, saw the banana peel, a whole bunch of candy. She was vegging out, but what else are you going to do when you're stuck on an island? Speaking of which, we're going into Erangel for map number 4, PMWC. It's been exciting today, truly, and the reason why his teams that didn't necessarily perform well during the group stage are really showing up in the survival stage. We've already witnessed Fireflux, right, get a victory, which was their first winner chicken dinner of the tournament. That includes their group stage performance. Now for Power, well, they sit at a total of 3, granted 1 for today, and then Horaa showing up and getting a win in game number 3 and doing it in sensational fashion, which puts the pressure, John, on so many other wonderful teams. Falcons, Alpha 7, right? Those teams looking to make it up to the top.
Absolutely. There is this really interesting dynamic that unfolds, right, when you take the best 8 teams out, well, best, you know, for now,
that's right,
teams out of the lobby. It creates this vacuum, and that pulls in these teams from beneath them. It pushes them towards the top and creates a lot of turbulence. When you start to add those factors all together, it can get a little bit spicy, and that's what we've witnessed so far at the start of today. At the moment, we're looking at half the lobby going through to the finals at the end of these 2 days of the survival stage, and because of that, we're expecting the points boundary to be somewhere around that 70-point mark, and teams are starting to have achieved half of that already, and a lot of the teams towards the top actually already pushing over 30.
That's it. Over 30 is big, especially when you start to go down towards the bottom. We take a look at top 8 currently. 8th place, CMON Horaa, sitting with 16 points around there anyways. They're going to have to definitely step it up. They're on the bubble, at least at the moment. It's still early goings. 3 more games today, 6 more tomorrow to determine our top 8 and, of course, our bottom 8. But if you're Kinotrope, Tense Game, Influence, Rage, and, well, really the list goes on, you've got to be a little bit worried, but you can't be too much in your head. Again, there's still time, but time will eventually run out. Heading into Game 4, our last Erangel of the day. Before we hop into Miramar, it's going to be exciting. We've seen some great city finishes already as it stands. Now I'm hoping we get a little bit of the military zones.
That Key Crusher is hungry, and we have only one way to feed it. It's crunching through these survival stages, and we will be heading in to Erangel once more. All 64 of our players locked and hopefully loaded into the plane from Lipovka over towards the southwest side, over towards Quarry. The plane path fairly chilled out right now. Lovely little dog decal there on the back wing of the plane. He's having a great time. Not so much for our players on the inside, though.
Flying high, flying high. Okay, so plane path looks pretty good, pretty standard. Everybody who wants to go wherever they want to go pretty much has free reign to do so. Georgia Pool obviously going to see quite a bit of activity up there with Alpha 7 and Co. America's region's loving that location. For the rest, though, military, I'm feeling it in my bones. John, I think this next zone is about to be spicy. I'm hoping I'm right, but I hope I just cast or cursed it.
It's a bones-based feeling here.
I'm feeling it.
And we're going purely off the vibe.
That's it.
That's exactly what we're here for. That's the only way to go.
You said the word.
Purely, yeah, and well, you know, had to fill out that bingo card. Heading on out to the northwest side, I reckon. You know, Zarky circles. That's my bones-based vibes play.
Okay, I wouldn't mind Zarky. I think Zarky's great. Again, a couple of teams that notably love to go out there. Actually, speaking of which, let's talk about it. Alpha 7 typically goes towards Zarky. Georgia Pool, Lipovka is where they decide to go this time around. And, well, we don't get either, but we do get right in the middle of what we were predicting. I'm still happy with this, and it's going to benefit quite a few other rosters. For example, E-Arena, Kinotrope going to be feeling quite happy. Power, who's had a standout day, currently sitting in 3rd place, 31 points. And, well, let's not forget also getting that Game 2 winner chicken dinner on Erangel, now set up quite nicely to potentially do just the same in game number 4. They'll be central at the moment, a bit spread out, but plenty of time to get together. For Yangon Galactica, they are going down towards military to start looting up and also, of course, get their vehicles. Now, for them, though, maybe a potential to go over to the Western Bridge, maybe a scuffle with Kinotrope, maybe R8, but still early goings, and I'm not seeing any hot drops at the moment.
No, aren't going to be too many right now. The plane path cutting straight through the middle allows a lot of access to places. I mean, obviously, the Alpha 7 relocation to Lipovka, going to that backup drop, it really just opens things up. If they'd have stuck to their guns and tried to go to North George, there would have been a hot drop on some of those vehicles out the west side. So a reasonable adjustment there. Aura and Influence Rage, probably the closest by to one another right now, up towards Yasnaya. But it looks like they're just sort of keeping each other at arm's distance. They don't want to get too aggy with it. And I think rightly so. You certainly, when you have a numbers advantage, don't want to push too hard. And Influence Rage as well, just looking to keep things calm, especially down in that 12th place. They want to get out of this early drop into those later game rotations.
Falcons also pretty much dead center. They have nobody around them, at least at the moment. They've had a stellar day. We talked about it throughout the group stage. Falcons, bit of an underperformance, right? Needing to step it up in the survival stage where their tournament lives are at risk. It would be weird, I must say, not to see Team Falcons representing in the final stages in that Smash Point competition, but they're doing very, very well. We mentioned 70 being the cutoff. They've already surpassed the halfway point. They still have a little bit more work, but let's face it, Falcons, if they can perform well in these back end of the 3 games, of our 6 today, they can absolutely qualify based off of day 1.
The thing that's very encouraging about the Falcons' performance right now that maybe isn't attributed to the other teams that sit around them is that they've done this through consistency, right? They haven't won a game yet. They have just been consistently getting into the top 5, right? And that is a great result for the Falcons to be able to have that spot available to them. The downside of what I've seen from them today is that there have been good rotations, good decisions being made.
Yes.
The mechanical execution of them has been subpar. Specifically, I think it's safe to say Ralph has had a couple of missteps, and I think Narvalo as well, obviously going down a lot earlier in the games than they would have liked to. You can attribute that to getting a little bit too bold on the scouting, maybe less of a mechanical issue, but I do think there are still a few wobbles here and there, and hopefully they can get themselves nice and steady, because it's working right now. The question is, will it work if they go to the finals? Will you bring back those top 8 teams?
Yeah, and that's a question, right? And that's a question they're going to have to ask themselves when they do head into the finals. Obviously, the task at hand now is just top 8. And, well, speaking of one of those teams who's close to the bubble is Alpha 7 on your screen, a team that obviously is coming in with squash this time around, but regardless, the returning champions, the heroes of the Americas region who play so incredibly well. I would be, again, just like the Falcons narrative, it would be so weird not to see Alpha 7 representing themselves during the Smash Point group or finals just coming up next week. But for Alpha 7, they're still relatively healthy. I do feel like they have gotten punished at multiple moments, but for now, I'm not too worried about them. I think they're going to be just fine. Now, for other teams from the Americas region, Influence, Rage, Intense Game, I do start to get a bit worried. I don't think they are performing well. And you go back to Influence, Rage during the group play, specifically their performance during day 1 group play for them, I felt they were coming in hot. I thought they looked great, but survival stage, nothing like their group play performance.
No, I mean, it does really change the dynamic, as I mentioned before, right? When you are taking out those top 8 teams in every single match, no matter which groups we're in, you're expecting there to be about 5, maybe 6 of those teams in the top 8 to be playing in the lobby, and removing those teams has really changed the dynamics here, and teams have taken advantage of that. And like you were highlighting there, some teams have had to eat mud on the flip side, right? Because you have to for a team to do better, another team has to do worse, right? Swings around the bounds.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Well, I will say Team Vision also another roster that surprised me being so far down. You go back to group play and they were performing incredibly well, having plenty of highlight moments. Were they in the top echelon? No, but Vision still a team that is struggling. Ragnar Karya now in a fight against AXTMG and Silas, a guy who, again, is trying to create history for himself. He's already has a large history of performances and great moments throughout PUBG Mobile history. This tournament would complete the trifecta he's currently trying to get, so that's a big opening elimination for him. And for AXTMG, the struggles live on.
I think Reckon and Kaya are looking weak this tournament in a way that couldn't be said, I think, for Alpha 7 or Falcons.
Sure.
They haven't really been in these positions to really take too much. They earned a couple of points on a few of the days, but obviously they're here in the survival stages, and I'm hoping that they can stand up. Like you said, with Silas having that PMGO victory, having that PMGC victory under the belt, adding that third, would be the first player in history to do so. But at the moment, they need to piece it back together, especially coming off of a weak season back in Europe, right? These guys only qualified because they had that extra qualification spot from winning PMGO at the start of the year. So the fact that they're only here because of that earlier performance, it does add questions to this roster. And right now they're on 8th place. So they would, if things close down now, be going through. And I think I would be disappointed not to see them go through. But they do still have a long way to go. And when they're put back in the fold with the 8 teams already qualified, the same thing's true of as what I said for the Falcons, right? There are those questions that just don't have an answer right now.
Alpha 7 in ruins. Currently, only team over in this location. Influence Rage skirting just to the north side for them, but getting quite contested towards the middle as we would expect. Karia being one of them. Dead center. Power as well. Haven't really done too much, but you wouldn't expect them to. They're centered. They're happy where they're currently at. For Kinotrope, well, they've got people all around them, but again, same situation. Nobody really to fight at the moment. Potentially Nogsham Red Force a little bit later, who, mind you, I've been very, very impressed with. Had a chance to speak with Benny yesterday. Super impressed with his mindset. He wants to be the best, and well, this tournament is one of the ways to prove it. Well, here we go. Going south now. It does shift just a bit, which could benefit Yangon Galacticos, who could potentially stay over on the military side if they don't want to fully commit for the bridge rotate, but it also puts them at risk of getting gate kept by R8 Nogsham Red Force. That's one of the things they're going to have to consider.
A lot of teams now looking to make their move. A hard south shift forces teams to rotate at the same time. I'm seeing Fireflux moving into the hills to the south of Pachinki there. Nongshim Red Force actually regrouping to the compound that sits over that long hillside that borders the south edge of this circle where R8 currently take up occupation. Fireflux actually rotating away. Looks like they're going to try and push into the east side of that, and all of these teams from the north going to try and move on top of each other. It is intense game. It is Alpha 7 moving in this area. You've got Power as well, who are a little bit ahead of the curve, and Influence Rage, actually the three-peat of the Americas teams. And when you only have one good team in the region,
right,
well, you know who you want to see get out of it.
Yeah, this is going to be weird because, like you said, you got all three Americas region teams, ironically, just right next to each other. You would, I guess, expect that with similar play styles, kind of similar mindsets, obviously from the same region, but it seems like they kind of do this invisible handshake. You go on your way, I'll go on my way, they'll go on their way, and we'll avoid each other for the time being. But as deeper as Influence Rate starts to go, closer and closer, they start to get the power.
Fireflux did actually turn around. They're now still in those hills, but it's Gamax, it's Yangon Galacticos who have now crossed the bridge as well on the south side of the circle, who are poking their noses in. You've also got E-Arena, who have sent a scout down south towards Nongshim Red Force, towards R8, but now Alpha 7 have actually cut off that retreat. On the north side, Aura, Influence Rage now clashing, trying to take position, and First Blood for Lorazit.
Influence Rage, great shot. Sleepy from a distance, though, takes Little Boy all the way down to just a sliver of health. He's most likely going to be finished off relatively soon. I don't foresee him getting picked back up. Of course, the med kit pops, but still, Influence Rage's got to fight hard. They've, again, struggled so much throughout the survival stage so far across the first 3 maps. They need to hold their ground. Not to mention, Power also starting to come in for a bit of a third party, and No Fear is gone.
A nice little flex out there from Al-Haji. Puts the stone in, gets the result he's looking for, adds a point to the tally. Pleased to see you. Power now actually going to put more pressure on. They're moving down, and Influence Rage playing with 4. They're locked into the building. They're surrounded by E-Arena and by Power now, who have pushed Easy actually very, very close to this situation. That was a bit too bold, and I think they've read into that. They will pull him back, fold him back into the rest of the team.
E-Arena being on the outskirts scares me, however, for Influence Rage. Such a talented roster. They have really proven themselves throughout not only their second day of group play, but also throughout the survival stages already. Having some high placings. Zone will shift once again. Alpha 7 very, very safe where they currently are. Influence Rate, same story. E-Arena Power around them. Intense game, though, might alleviate some of that pressure. They start the push in. Power encompassing their location. We get on board with the fight going down. IG versus Power. It will be, I believe, will it be a 3v4, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, currently that's how it sits. Power were a little bit split, but it looks like they're regrouping. They do have that off angle just across the way. Nade in over towards Easy from Silence, and he's quietening him down. pretty nicely there. Al-Haji holding the flank still against Influence Rage, but maybe he needs to worry about the inside, but handles business from Fidan on the outskirts there, looking to try and keep his team in this fight. Silas has the challenge down the alleyway, but both of them back off the angle.
There we go, Power pushing up, Petrino cooking a nade. Al-Haji wants to take him out before it can get thrown, but now he has to reposition himself. IG running on fumes, and Al-Haji looking to put him into the grave earlier than they wanted, and that's exactly what will happen. IG struggles will continue.
Power have been stepping up today. A little bit lackluster, well, more than a little bit lackluster in the group stages earlier on in last week's games, but today it looks like Power are here to play. They added on some cheeky chicken dinners. They've been able to now get in and amongst it. It is a return to form for them. Hopefully they can keep this going. Oh, Vision.
Just about to point out, Ralph, he was separated from his roster. Falcons have been leaving players, stragglers, to be the scouts for the rest of the trio, whoever's out. First it was Redux in the last game, we were talking about him, and now this time it's Ralph, who's, well, potentially in no man's land. I say that, but here comes the rest of the roster trying to pick him back up. Getting Ralph back into the fight, being a four-man unit, is definitely going to be the way they want to go. It's a question now of vision and how hard they want to push this engagement.
The forward duo for Falcons have a position in this next circle. Koa and Navallo looking to try and stanchion them down. Try and keep things under control here. Koa puts pressure. The res was sent over towards Ralph. He's up there in a vehicle now and they can rotate away. Vision actually not opting to crash onto that position. Instead, trying to get ahead of the rotation and split Falcons off from their forward duo.
Now it's a question of Power and do they want to continue to push the issue? And I guess not at the moment. Vision unintentional, though. Even though they do go up top, they still manage to pass by Falcons, and they are in hot pursuit, shooting some shots at Ralph. The early knock that they got a little bit earlier, now trying to get the finish. Influence Rage also in the area, and they're going full send. AXTMG also off in the line of sight. So this is getting a bit chaotic in the open field, and as they are pretty much dead center of the zone, everybody's going to be collapsing in. And now Jiggle from Aura. Regis, you got Silas also up there. Vision Bolt is pushing in, trying to take everybody on, and he's going to fall a bit flat.
Vision do a mad rotate through everybody in the circle into the middle of an open field. It was a death ball that they just sent in, hoping to all hell that they'd make it, and they just really didn't. It was honestly a pretty terrible position there for Vision to take.
100%.
I think that is probably coming off from the Falcons what was potentially one of the most exciting, fresh, new, dynamic rotations in the tournament so far into what I think I would categorize as the worst rotation I've seen this tournament.
Fully agree, and especially because you get a fresh knock on the Falcons and you don't even fully commit for the finish. You have the man advantage in that moment, and then you decide to pull away, allow Falcons to get the res, and then full send it in the middle of 5 teams? Nah, that just doesn't make sense, and, well, clearly they are struggling today as they just sit at the very bottom with only 2 points. Hopefully they'll start to get it together. A lot of teams on the north, stragglers, trying to come on in. Kinetro, Power, you also have Influence Rage as well. It's going to be pretty tight up towards the northern side of the zone. The first team to get in might be able to play Gatekeeper, but for the time being, everybody's got a lot of space to work with, but that's the thing. There's just a lot of space out in the open, vast area, which is the zone.
Yeah, that hillside to the south edge, that tree-covered hill ridge that currently R8 sits on, that Fireflux is sitting on as well, it can contain maybe one more team, but it's going to start to get squashed. Alpha 7 going to be looking to do just that. Meanwhile, on the northwest side, Influence Rage, they're trying to move, but so are Power. And Power are on form today. With 5 elims already, they found Lorazin. AXTMG going to look for that flush as well. And the third parties coming through from Falcons who have managed to all get to the same shack out in the open field.
That's it, same shack, so they're going to be all together. They can focus fire, but they are being gate kept just a little bit by Noxium Red Force way off in the distance at the compound. So Power need to, or should be Falcons need to be a little bit careful. For Power's perspective, though, the reason why they were so successful in that little scuffle they had with Influence Rage has spread themselves apart with the 2-2 split. Power are moving together as one unit. They are wolf packing, making it very difficult for any stragglers or any split ups, like for example Influence Rage, maybe even Kinetrup for a moment, to fight against this 4-man unit of Power. And I think I owe their success to, again, them being on the same page, stick it together, it's hard to take on a full force unit. But teams now start to settle down a little bit. Kinnetrop is going to go ahead and take over the eastern side zone. Power will start to move in. AXTMG still running on fumes, but Henry may be looking to make a solo play against Power once they rotate in. We'll see what he can do.
Has got a forward position to assist with him in Cyrax, but they are very, very split, and in the open fields, it is going to be a difficult crossing. Power moving past Fidan, actually moving close towards that forward position, maybe actually over into Influence Rage. Fidan circling here. Easy's going to roll straight on up. Al-Haji sending in a barrel, sent down the lane towards Influence Rage, and Easy goes in first, does manage to get traded off, but they lose one of their players. Now, can they handle Lil Boy on the inside? Al-Haji take it down, and Influence Rage maybe trying to stop Power dead in their tracks. Fidan on the outside here with the AUG, hasn't managed to find it, and Lil Boy goes for the res.
Lil Boy's going for the res. Lil Boy now out. He knows he has to leave this. There's too much utility to use. And the juke, the bait and switch to take down the remainder of Power to stay alive. The Falcons are now starting to move in, and I fear this might be the ending of Lil Boy. But the medkit is popped. He's back up, but the nades are rolling in, and Falcons are starting to close the vice grip. But Lil Boy stands on his own 2 feet for a little bit longer to get one more final knock.
Ralph needs to get rezzed here on the inside. They've got a couple of vehicles to play with, but this is not going to be enough of a position. A massive flex back out from the Falcons. They are getting spicy with it. Alpha 7 in the meantime marauding around and sweeping through the western side. They might try and push in and capitalize on this chaos.
Squash taking a lot of damage. Arena moving in. Squash ready for this. However, Alpha 7 starts to crumble. Mormon gets to clean up on Revo. And, well, the rest of the Alpha 7 roster now in shambles. Only one remaining. It's Mafioso. He chose to stay back just a little bit. And, well, he's going to have to go at it alone as a solo for anything, right? Going for placement points. Maybe potentially trying to get the remaining cleanups. I mean, after all, E-Arena does have 2 down players.
Falcons got really keen to push up towards that north side, but it means that they've got 3 players in position to potentially pick up these points towards E-Arena. You can see these nades are starting to ring on out, and it's actually from R8 who are able to close down Alpha 7 here. But E-Arena suffering as they try and go for that cross, that northern flex out. The Falcons were all held down towards that number 3 on the minimap there on Narvalo, but now with that flex out, they have those off angles.
Yep.
They now need to rotate back on in. You can see the vehicles they got available to them though, and they should be able to make this crossing.
Yeah, E-Arena will maybe split the difference between them. Narvalo might be able to put additional pressure with that split. Noxious Red Force still dead center, by the way. They're going to play a big impact as we get later and later into the stages. R8, a team that, just like others, have been struggling quite a bit. Opposite of another team that is relatively low in the standing. Shanghai Galactica, Saycloud Smile just up ahead. Mormon starting to roll in from E-Arena. I would be very, very impressed if Mormon can even pick up one. But with this off angle on R8, I don't know. I'm thinking he can at least start to hurt R8 a little bit, which could open up the door for Young Galacticas to potentially get a clean win here.
That's what they'll be looking for here. Gamax trying to push in on the southeast side in the meantime as Fireflux try and hold their own. So far, looks to be in the favor of Fireflux, but Rectum Kaya are chiming in across the way from the north side, pulling them now down to 3 confirmed. Gamax playing with just the 1. It may not be enough to take down Fireflux, but damage has been done, and that's going to slow them down. Talking about those holds out to the west side towards Yangon Galacticos, it really does entrench them in this position a little bit longer.
Fireflux staying alive a little bit longer, start to push up towards Yangon Galactica. Strax is, well, in the thick of it. Smoke out, nades starting to move in. Falcons keeping the pressure up. Just such a sensational day from Team Falcons, just on the edge of taking over first place. AXTMG are now gone, and Falcons have been hugely aggressive, and man, from one team to another, they now push up onto Kinotrup. The question is, do they know they're sitting in the weeds?
They have managed to spot that first knock, right? So they know that there is a team there sort of trying to navigate the northern side with a hard north shift. It would be a very viable team to try and take out, but Falcons overcommitting here would expose them to Nongshim Red Force, who have been in this compound since the start of Phase 2, almost Phase 1 in fact. They have been chilling here in big ways, right? One Elim, very quiet, difficult to leave if they had to rotate away, but they have control over so much of this open ground now.
Without a doubt, and not to mention playing gatekeeper to Fireflux, playing gatekeeper to Yangon Galacticus, who's going to have to move into them potentially. So I expect them to be at 5 eliminations relatively soon if they can do everything right. They're already in a very healthy spot, just 4 points away from taking over first place. R8 has been tempting this fight opposite of Falcons for quite some time. They managed to stay up. They, of course, only have 3 members, but you can do a lot of damage with 3. But you mentioned Nox from Red Force playing the gatekeepers, and well, Damar's going straight into him.
Just going straight on through, trying to see if he can keep an edge, and it looks like they're going to let him play on this wall for now, but the Falcons might have something to say about that. Damar may be exposed. The rest of R8 actually going to continue that push. He knows he's getting unchallenged, so they've got that western building under control. An interesting decision for Nongshan Red Force not to hold them out. They're going to give the western side of the compound to R8.
Compound so critical to keep in play, especially if you get blessed by the next zone, which could very well happen. Now, you do have to consider another fight, obviously, right before your eyes. Fireflux as well as Yangon Galacticus, as they might cannibalize each other. As soon as that happens, now they move into Noxious Red Force in the R8 fight. So it's going to be one fight to another, and now you have to prioritize which one is more important for you to take the third party or go head-to-head. For Fireflux, they can, in fact, wrap around the eastern side and maybe take over where the crate is currently at. Or they can decide to push. Right now, they're just kind of just seeing what's out there. But with the hovercraft, I think Yangon Galacticus need to take advantage of that. For me, I'm wrapping around. I don't want to full send it. I don't want this third party, but maybe they do.
I mean, it's already smoking. It's really dangerous to be heading on in like that. But Yangon Galacticos full crash onto the northern point, and Nongshan Red Force look to hold. A meat grinder found through the window, but Yangon Galacticos somehow avoid the spinning blades that Nongshan Red Force will send out towards them. Smile is hunting them down, and that's 3 players already falling. Romeo the only casualty. R8 looking at third party, but not really finding too much. It's over almost before it started. And Fireflux are now in on the east side.
But Doc also hits a great shot onto Solus from Fireflux through the window, and now he can capitalize with the nade. You have, of course, Marth and R8 on the outskirts. Nades galore starting to come through. Doc still standing up with the full challenge on the outskirts. Matt Cap, though, great shots with the DBS, will push Doc back.
Forces it back into the inside of the building. Yangon Galacticos and R8 are dealing with each other right now, which means that this is a 1v1 on this corner of the compound, and Doc wants to try and conclude that point and play on from there. Yangon Galacticos successful on the first crash, but R8 challenging them now on the angle, playing with 3 as well. Marth retreats back up to the warehouse, and the Falcons have been marching ever closer as time goes on, but finally Narvalo has a knock sent his way, and they'll have to slow it down just for a beat.
Massive fan of R8 disengaging, going to the shed. That's going to give them a great foothold within this chaotic compound area. Meanwhile, for Kinotrope, they are in dire straits. You already got 1 player very weak and down. You've got 2 more who's also relatively weak. You've got, of course, got a team pushing up onto your location. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. The only thing you can do is hit the dirt. For Regnum Karya, you mentioned them underperforming. Well, look at them now. Top 8, also all 4 players alive and pushing the issue on the remaining players at Kinotrope.
Silas lands an aid right on their heads there. Now with 1 player left standing, they are going to try and take down Kinotrope entirely. Ooh, nearly getting that full knock, but Silas has to disengage. He is going to have to fall back to the rest of his team. Only 1 nade left, and you want to be saving that for a little bit later, especially in these open fields. They are so valuable.
Without a doubt, but they also have a drop, so that's going to be big for them as well. Falcons still on the outskirts. R8 starting to tease them a bit with a couple of shots. It's going to be tough to take down R8. Obviously, Falcons keep them at bay. You still got Yangon Galacticus, who's going to be just behind you. And for Fireflux, Matt Cap, I believe, is down and out, and that will be the end of Fireflux. Regardless, still a great game. In second place, they will continue to stay within top 8. Now, for Noxious Red Force, 1 player remains. That's going to be Doc, who heroically stayed alive on the second floor building of where he currently is. Now, for Falcons, are they potentially making a push? Are they making a rotation? Well, no, they've got to park the bus because R8 continues to punish them.
They try and get up towards the hay bale, but the cover isn't there. Damar has been tearing them to pieces. Chunks of Falcon flying left and right as he's blasting them away here, and it's just unfriendly atmospheres out on the northwestern side. There's more to do. Marth's going to have a go. have a crack, and now it's just the one player. No, it's the no players as Falcons fall flat on their rotate up towards the north.
Which is so disappointing. Falcons were on fire. The way they were pushing teams was excellent, and they didn't want to fully commit for this compound play. They wanted to skirt the edge, but there's just no coverage on the outskirts, right? And unfortunately, a little bit too overexposed, but good on R8 to take advantage of that moment. Now, all eyes on Regnum Karya, who have to push through an open space. Smoke so valuable in the moment. Now, it's just a mad dash forward. The question is, can they even make any headway? R8, Yangon Galacticus, Doc from Nogsham Red Force is going to be looking straight at him.
Immediately covering this field in smoke. Stage 8 circle closes dead center, and that will put us on the north side of this compound. None of these teams currently have position there, so if Regnum Karya can get up to the wall successfully, they're going to have a great shot here, but they're going for the wraparound. Damar on the wall looks to try and hold his nerve, but he's already taken down in a second as well. A blast on the sidelines here for R8, and they will be torn apart. Regnum Karya with a clean roll-up and give themselves a chance for 12 elims and more into this circle. 4 elims remain, could be a 26-point game.
Absolute insanity. Regnum Karya looking so incredibly strong, down to our top 3. Duck from Nogsham Red Force to Solo, who has stayed alive as long as he possibly can, looking to play spoiler to the chances of Regnum Karya, potentially Yangon Galacticos 4 and 3, both respectively alive for those very rosters. Doc, though, give him credit, man, staying alive is just massive in this moment. And the question is, who wants to make the first move? I don't know just yet, but with the way that Regnum Karya just pushed into R8, I've got to favor him.
I'm thinking about Regnum Karya and their position and thinking perhaps they want to try and take the wall side of this compound. You could potentially be there. It's fairly nadeable, which makes it a little bit dangerous depending on what sort of utility Yangon Galacticos are going to be working with. But having that angle that controls the open courtyard to the north side of this Yangon Galacticos building would be absolutely huge. But for now, Regnum Karya going to allow themselves a little bit of time, a little bit of breathing room, get those healing ticks back up from those stims. They also don't know where this last solo player is, which means that they're probably wary as to where that off angle could be.
I like where Wild is currently at. He's going to be protecting the backside, allowing his teammates to just focus on what's in front of them. You do not want to get flanked, and there is a potential, right? Yangon Galacticus can send a player down to where Wild is currently at. That would basically spell the ending of this fight. I do have to question how annoying Doc is going to be in this moment, though. I think Doc is a solo. I really think he's going to affect the fight once Yangon Galacticus as Regnum Karya start to collapse into each other. Silas is starting to make a move, and he is taking that advanced position, which is great, but Doc knows this, and Doc is going to be opposite of him. Yangon Galacticus moving in. SayCloud and Doc potentially about to square off.
Silas opening the building. I don't think you want to step in there just yet. Doc now getting pressure put on him. Yangon Galacticos know he's there, know that this fight happened earlier, and they will take care of him. So no more annoyances from the side, but Yangon Galacticos have invested time, and the question is, what have Regnum Karya done with it? They've moved out to the north side, up and to that wall position. The nade over towards Silas drops short from Smile, and everybody's cooking them. How much more have they got left in the back pocket? Loxy with a long lob, doesn't quite connect, and another one sent over towards Silas, sees the numbers even. 3 versus 3, and Wild falls next.
All right, Regnum Karya now with the 3 versus 3, as you said. SayCloud, Smile, nades are cooking, they're throwing, but are they connecting? Well, not just yet. Loxy, though, down. Loxy down. Yangon Galacticos managed to make it happen and take the win. Regnum Karya, a heroic effort, a wonderful game, but at the end, that was the ending, man. Well done, dude. I think today the games we have been phenomenal. Regnum Karya, the champion, or excuse me, Yangon Galacticos, the champions with 9 elims, huge.
A brilliant result for them in the end. And Yangon Galacticos, the 2P to see that one close it down. That position that Doc held in the end, okay, a little bit more aura farming coming through from Yangon Galacticos, hitting them with the boat dance. But you know what? In the end, it felt like Regnum Karya maybe gave a little bit too much leeway to Yangon Galacticos. They played towards the back of the compound for a long time, right? They could have potentially taken control, got a little bit further forwards. The circle closed a little bit further south than I thought it would, so could have been a little bit more of a decision maker there, but I think getting rid of Doc was brilliant from Yangon Galacticos. Regnum Karya allowed them to transverse, though, across that compound. they could have done more. 12 elims in a second place, however, that's going to put you up on, 18 points on the match, and that's a great result.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially since we talked about their struggles. So a game like this, very much needed, puts them closer to that potential theoretical 70-point threshold. CMON Horaa looking so very strong. There it is. Game number 4 is done. We go to a break. When we come back, Game 5 Miramar coming your way.
Reach your impossible. Lenovo Legion.